How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Swan Drop. Today is November 6, 2021, and today we're going to focus on our first and potentially major snowstorm that may impact the Midwest as well as portions of the Northeast into next week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current GFS model as of right now, and you see that right around the 102-hour mark, which is just a little over 4 days from now, we could have our first snowstorm throughout much of the Great Lakes, extending into the interior Northeast. So to begin to see where exactly this how this snowstorm will set up in the Midwest and the Northeast, let's first take a look at what's happening right now. We see that we, of course, are still dealing with this pretty big storm along the southeast coast, but that should end later today. But outside of that, it's mostly quiet for a majority of the United States. We do have a little bit of convection to right around the Pacific Northwest, but this isn't going to be associated with our next snowstorm in the Great Lakes as well as the interior Northeast next week. But if we were to continue to move forward, you see that the Pacific Northwest is going to continue to stay wet, which isn't surprising considering that there's a La Nina year. We typically see a Pacific jet move through the region, and that certainly should be good news since it'll help mitigate the drought in that region. So the precipitation is good news, but it's just going to be very rainy and snowing the higher elevations of the Pacific Northwest over the next couple of days. But if we were to continue to move forward, we're going to see a pretty strong trough move into the Pacific Northwest right around the Seattle to Vancouver region, and you see that it's bringing a lot of snow in the higher elevations of Washington and Idaho, and along with it, it should bring a lot of instability and cold air behind it, because when low pressure moves over the very high terrain of the Cascades, a lot of that air is forced upwards right around the Cascade region, and as it sinks down, we see a lot of wind associate since of course all that air aloft forced up by the Cascade Mountains needs to go will eventually go down just to the east of the Cascades, and once all that air is interacting with that cooler Canadian air, it pretty much entrains the cold air right around the low pressure system, and that creates a more unstable environment, and it's the anatomy of many clipper systems that move through the United States, as it brings a lot of cold air behind it, which creates enough of an unstable environment to bring snow throughout Canada and the United States. And this case won't be any different. You see that by right around the 90-hour mark, you see that there's a lot of snow associated with this low pressure system, and we're seeing snow in the higher elevations. But you see that the low pressure, there's going to be two areas of low pressure systems, and you see that it's going to begin to bring snow right around North Dakota as well as northern Minnesota right around the 4-day mark, which is right around the Wednesday time frame. So northern Minnesota and North Dakota needs to pay very close attention to this, because as soon as Wednesday, you guys could experience impacts from regarding this snowstorm. And you see that we're seeing the darker shades of blue, which represents that the snowfall rates are quite high, and that could create a more significant snowstorm event overall. And you see as this moves further eastward, there's going to be a ridge located right around the southeast, and that should bring a lot of warm air into the low pressure system, and that should pretty much interact with the cold air that these two low pressure systems are entraining, and that'll create a more unstable environment for this storm to rapidly intensify, because you see that this begins right around in 1,006 millibar low pressure system, and then within 24 hours it drops down to the 986 millibar range, and we see a lot of heavy snow associated with this, especially in Minnesota as well as Wisconsin is getting involved, and also a lot of cold air. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see windy conditions associated with this as well, because we of course have that pressure gradient between this ridge and this low pressure system, so there could be that possibility of blizzard conditions if the snowfall is heavy enough and if the winds are strong enough, which I think is certainly possible considering how fast this storm is developing. But you see that we're going to see snow in northern Minnesota, and this extends to Wisconsin as well as Michigan. And the thing is, with this low pressure system, since it's going to be so windy, we're going to see a lot of lake effect snow associated with this. So we could see a lot of areas right along the lakes of Michigan, and as well as right around Erie, Pennsylvania, and the Lake Ontario, right around New York. You could experience heavy snowfall associated with the lake effect snow, because you see that right behind this low pressure system, we see a strong northerly flow that's going to move over the warmer than average Great Lakes region, and that'll create an unstable environment right around the Great Lakes for lake effect snow to occur, and it could be significant. And you see that even if we were to continue to move forward, we even see some scattered snow showers getting potentially uncomfortably close to the Interstate 95 corridor, while the forecast is currently that you guys won't experience anything significant anywhere close to the Interstate 95 corridor, as there's still a more likely than not possibility you won't receive any snow from this. We can't rule out that possibility, especially if this storm takes a pretty significant shift in the forecast when it comes to its track, and that's certainly in the realm of possibilities, because you see that I'm going around 6 days out with this, and a lot could change between 6 days. As you know, any small differences in terms of the exact location of this low pressure system could make a big difference regarding how much snow you experience. And another concerning thing is that since this low pressure system is going to bring such a big jet stream dip, noticeable jet stream dip throughout the eastern half of the United States, it could create another unstable environment for another trough to maybe bring another snowstorm right behind it. But I'm going well beyond the 7-day mark with this storm, so take this with a huge grain of salt. For this video, I'm focused mainly on this first potential snowstorm, which at this point has a good chance of dumping snow throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and even more states further southward. You see that the GFS model mainly wants to restrict the snow towards North Dakota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, but the track still is very uncertain at this point, so I'll make sure to keep you guys updated regarding track. So you might be asking, what will determine the track for this to for potentially maybe the places further southward to receive impact? So what needs to happen really is a more pronounced jet stream dip and a little bit more of a northwesterly flow to bring this low pressure system further southward. If that were to happen, then we could potentially see snow more further southward. So maybe even places like Chicago and Cleveland could get involved, and places further southward, closer to the northeast coast, could get involved in a case further southward. However, there's still that equal possibility that this low pressure system remains more northward if we don't see as much of a northwesterly flow associated with unstable air. So we just need to wait and see. Really all depends on where exactly the northerly ridge steers the storm to see exactly where the worst of the snowfall will outlie. But I'll make sure to keep you guys updated. But if we were to take the forecast of GFS model at face value, we would see a significant snowstorm in North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even Michigan, and even portions of the interior Northeast. So for a lot of the northern United States, you need to pay close attention to this, because this could be your first snowstorm of the year, first potentially many snowstorms for this year. So make sure to pay close attention to this all throughout the northern United States. But let's take a look at what the GFS model is forecasting regarding the snowfall amount over the next 7 days. You see, if we were to continue to move forward, you see that we're seeing significant snowfall throughout Minnesota, where you guys are experiencing over close to a foot, or even in some cases over a foot in northern Minnesota. But again, take this with a huge grain of salt, because this forecast goes beyond the 5 day mark, and forecasting the exact amount of snow becomes very difficult when forecasting it beyond the 5 day mark. Heck, even beyond the 3 day mark, it's very difficult. So we just need to take that into consideration, that there's still a lot of uncertainty with the snowfall forecast, but right now it's bringing a pretty significant snowstorm for Wisconsin and Michigan, where a lot of areas are receiving close to, or if not over, a foot, and a large area is experiencing 3 to 6 inches, where Minneapolis is forecasting right around 3 to 6 inches, and the snow is coming uncomfortably close to Chicago, where potentially the Milwaukee suburbs could receive up to an inch of snow. And you see Michigan is getting involved, where we're seeing a good area of 3 to 6 inches associated with lake effect snow, and even Cleveland, Ohio, in the GFS models cases, receiving around an inch of snow, and this extends to Erie, Pennsylvania as well, and the interior Northeast, such as the Adirondack. So it's something we need to keep in mind, I'd say for a lot of the Northern Great Lakes, stay at high alert, and the interior Northeast as well, because I think it's becoming more likely you might experience at least some snow from this. Exactly how much has yet to be seen, depending on the exact track of this. If you were to take a look at the European models forecast over the next 7 days, you see that we're seeing mainly a large area of 3 to 6 inches throughout Minneapolis, and this extends to North Dakota as well. The thing is, with the European model, what's interesting is that while it's taking a larger area of snow overall, impacting more people, the snowfall amount isn't at the highest. Snowfall amounts aren't as high as, let's say, GFS, because the highest snowfall amounts the European model is forecasting is pretty much right around 6 to 7 inches, but nothing more than that. The GFS model is forecasting over a foot of snow in northern Minnesota, as well as northern Wisconsin and Michigan. So there's a pretty stark contrast in terms of peak snowfall, but what both computer models seem to be agreeing on is that most of the northern United States will experience at least Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, and majority of the Great Lakes will experience snow from this. So that's certainly something we want to see, a very certain forecast for a lot of the Great Lakes region, and even the interior Northeast is there. Both the computer models are agreeing you guys will experience snow, and if we were to continue to move even forward, you see that we could potentially see significant lake effect snow right around the Cleveland region. So while it's a good sign that both of the computer models are leaning towards bringing snow throughout the northern Great Lakes, since it adds more certainty to the forecast. There's still pretty big uncertainty regarding how much snow, and while both the computer models are agreeing that there's going to be a snowstorm in the northern Great Lakes, there's still that possibility within the next 5 to 7 days that the computer models change and maybe you guys won't experience snow, but it's becoming more increasingly likely you might experience at least some snow in Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin. So make sure to stay on high alert. I wouldn't say prepare now, because there's still uncertainty regarding how much snow you'll experience, but at least definitely be aware of this, because we could see a large area where you could experience your first snowstorm of the year. Now, the track also matters a lot, because if this were to move further southward, then we might see more snow closer along the coast of the Northeast, or maybe further southward to where Chicago gets a little bit more snow, Milwaukee gets a little bit more snow, Detroit gets a little bit more snow. We have to wait and see how far south or north this low pressure system goes. Really all depends on how strong of a northwesterly flow there's going to be right behind this low pressure system as it moves further eastward. But as of now, at least be aware of this. If you were to take a look at what the European model is saying, you see that the European model isn't taking as strong of a storm, and it's taking the storm a little bit further northward, but interestingly, it's taking a little bit more scattered snow showers further southward. So while the European doesn't want to take the highest snowfall, it takes at least more snowfall, impacting more people overall, as it expects a little bit more of a jet stream dip, even though the storm is a little bit is more further up north. So that's definitely something we need to keep in mind over next week. But I'll make sure to update you guys once we get more updates. Well, what won't help is what won't help is the warmer than average lake effect snow, which actually will enhance the snowfall for a lot of the Great Lakes, because since the lakes are warmer than average, that creates a more unstable environment. Because once that cold air interacts with the warmer than average Great Lakes region, that it creates a more unstable environment where the air surrounding the lakes are more inclined to receive a lot more lift, since the contrast between the cold air and the warmer than average air over the lakes is much higher, and that could create more lift for lake effect snow. So as a result of the warmer than average lakes, we could see an enhanced risk of heavy lake effect snow that could impact a lot more people, and we could see snow that's much heavier than initially anticipated. So that's definitely something you need to keep in mind right around the lakes for next week. If we were to take a look at the timing, it should last from Wednesday to Friday. So that's definitely something you guys need to stay aware of overall throughout the Great Lakes. So let's take a look at the now first let's actually take a look at the Arctic oscillation over the next several weeks, because that also determines how much cold air you'll receive. And you see that headed into mid-November, we get closer to negatives, which kind of coincides with what's going to happen next week with a big jet stream dip. So that's definitely something we need to be aware of as well. Now taking a look at the next, let's take a look at my snowfall forecast overall for most of the northern United States. So I'm not giving specific numbers right now, because it's I'm forecasting this very far into the future. So I don't want to do you guys an injustice by giving you specific numbers, because it's way too far to forecast specific numbers just yet. Maybe right around the 3-day mark or 4-day mark, once we get a little bit more confidence with the forecast, then I'll give you guys specific numbers on how many inches of snow you should receive. But as of right now, based off the GFS and European model, based off my speculation, I'm expecting the heaviest snow to be right around northern Minnesota and northern Dakota, where you could receive maybe 6 inches or more, depending on which forecast model is correct. Just south of that, I'm expecting heavier snow, which I still do think that you could experience heavier snow from this, but a lot of uncertainty. And just south of that, I'm expecting moderate snow, which includes cities like Cleveland, Detroit, Milwaukee, Chicago. So that's definitely something you need to keep in mind for this week. There's still a lot of uncertainty regarding which area will receive the heaviest snow and how much exact snow you should receive. But based on what the computer models are saying, I expect the heaviest snow to be in northern Minnesota, where you could receive your significant snowstorm over there, as well as Minneapolis. And moderate snow, you guys have a possibility of experiencing your first snowstorm, but we need to just wait and see. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.